I want to talk for a moment about the concept of growing seed in the midst of weeds. You ever have that moment if you've ever planted anything like a garden or maybe some flowers in your yard, where you clear the ground, you plant the seed, you start to tend to the seed, and then all of a sudden there are weeds growing in the midst of your nice planted area. Now, there's frustration because you did all the things that would be resourceful to prep the ground for what you were growing. But here are these pesky weeds growing in the midst of something that you're looking forward to one day appreciating and valuing. If it's flowers, you're looking to enjoy the beauty of those bright colors and the ambiance of it in your yard. Or if you're growing plants like cucumbers and tomatoes, and you're looking forward to the one day harvest of it. But then you see these weeds and you become discouraged, because we understand that weeds in the midst of your plants can take away the nutrients and the benefits of what you're growing. They can sometimes be overpowering, where they're growing at a higher rate than even your plant. You have a choice you can make at that moment. You can either try to dig up the weeds and potentially mess up the growth and the progress that your seed has already taken, or you could just give up on the whole project altogether. But I offer a third option. And that is let them continue to grow together. Here's the realness. Here's the truth, is that the seed doesn't stop growing just because weeds are in the midst of it. What happens is that journey, it can be a little tougher. It can require you to do a few extra steps to tend to your seed that's growing in the midst of those weeds. But it doesn't mean that the seed can't thrive and grow and still accomplish what you're looking to do. Now, why am I talking to you about seeds and weeds and plants? Well, that's the truth about things that we're going after with our goals when we're pressing towards new horizons, or we're trying to change up something in our life. We, in many ways, will try to do all the things that we can to make sure that when we start this journey, when we make this change, that it's in the best set of circumstances. But the truth is that no matter how we prep, there are moments that there's distractions that come along, unexpecteds that come to challenge the thing that you're trying to grow in. And you too, just like when planting that seed, have a choice to make. Do I abandon this goal, this dream, this thing that I was trying to accomplish and do different in my life? Or do I continue to press forward? Do I continue to try to work on this thing and make the most out of the situation despite the hardship? And I'm encourage you today is, yes, you absolutely do. Because here's the other side of that concept of planting a seed in the midst of weeds. There's a resilience that plant accomplishes because it's having to go up against this obstacle of weeds. It is creating a different root system in growth, because now it has to fight for resources. It does have to navigate differently than if it was just without anything impeding or influencing its situation, its environment. And that's what happens with us too. In the midst of struggles, in the midst of challenges, it is a place for us to strengthen another part of who we become as we go after something. And here's something else I want you to consider. That at some point, that plant, that goal, that thing that you're working to create, develop, and grow in will get big enough that you can tend to the weeds around it. You can address the environmental influences that were not the ideal circumstances. But sometimes you have to give your seed, that goal, that growth, that place that you're wanting to do, time to mature enough to address the other areas. Hear that. Sometimes you have to mature in the midst of struggles, in the midst of situations, so that you can build a resilience, so that you are ready for when it is time to address those other things, that your foundation is strong enough to withstand the shift, to withstand the things that are going on around. And so I want us to think about that. I want us to consider and take away from this. When we grow in the midst of chaos, in the midst of struggles, in the midst of things that were unexpected, there's a different growth process we go through that builds a set of resilience to withstand hardship, to withstand the struggle that we wouldn't have gotten if we didn't have the friction. We didn't have the thing that was influencing our environment. And then at some point, what comes out in the growth, what grows in the midst of that, is a plant that can withstand the shift when it's time, and planting and growing things that we call that harvest time. When it's harvest time, when it's time for that skill, when it's time for you to reach that goal and you're ready to uproot the weeds, the things that have influenced it, that plant can withstand the shift that needs to go on around it. And just in the same, you will be able to withstand because of all the things that you've done to grow in the midst of the chaos. That's the very thing that actually is strengthening you for the journey to remove yourself and remove those environmental things that have been challenging from your space. I want you to be encouraged. Keep growing. Keep tending the seed. Keep doing all the things that you need to do in order to go after your goals, in order to go after the thing that you're wanting and thriving for, because it's worth it. And you're better for it. You're better for the journey and the benefits that you get out of the journey when you continue to grow.